Hey, what's going on, guys? Alex here with Ryan, and we're going to bring you this week's fishing report. Now, let's start with you, buddy.
Yeah.
I know you've been fishing out here locally
Yeah, definitely.
for perch, rockfish, and what else have you been catching around here?
We're gonna be catching spot, croaker, perch, rockfish, pretty much everything north of the bridge. Try to go for catfish. Catfish is kind of slow right now, but moving into the rockfish is really hot at the bridge right now. So what I was doing yesterday was just live lining spot under the pilings. I was on the west side, but they've been catching them all over the bridge. So we sell spot here. Come get your spot and go live line the bridge. You're gonna want to use a circle hook, and pretty much that's really it. I wasn't using any weight. Some people will use weight, but yeah, that's really it. Live lining the bridge is what I've been doing lately, and it had success pretty much every time.
How deep?
Any depth, really. Rock piles to like 15 feet of water on the west side.
Nice.
Pretty much everywhere.
Nice.
And it's not.
What about the perch? You've been catching perch out there too?
The perch, I didn't hit the bridge for perch, but just outside of like Pedigree Point, like 15, 20 feet of water, drop down either a rain minnow or some bait on a top bottom rig, and you
Soft
pretty
crab?
much, yeah, soft crab works really
Nice.
well. Yep. Pretty much any lugworm, soft crab, razor clams, all really good bait for perch. Either using a standard top bottom rig or one of those Chesapeake Sabikis.
Nice.
Yep.
Yeah. Did you see any bluefish while you were at the bridge?
Not while I was at the bridge. When we were at Pedigree, there were peanut bunker busted on the surface and a little 8 to 10 inch bluefish chasing them. Just throwing a rain minnow and burning that across the surface, or any one of those
Any
little.
good size to them?
Nah, pretty much 8, 10 inches. I'm sure you could find the bigger ones if you
Right.
stick around them and follow the menhaden. But yeah, for the most part, just metal jigs for those.
Yeah, that's not too bad. So, we pretty much have our summer pattern going on right now. Of course, most of your rock fishing is going to be there, in spots like the Bay Bridge have like decent current whenever the tide's moving. Early morning, later in the evening for your top water, shallow water fishing, of course. Remember, all you're looking for is structure and semi-shallow water. To make you understand, this is going to be probably like 10 foot and below.
Yeah,
and you want some sort of current going through those areas.
So we were at Dobbins Island
Yep.
just yesterday, and I was just throwing a rain minnow, rockfish and perch near Dobbins Island, like real shallow, 5 feet of water.
Oh yeah. So just like classic points, like you have Mountain Point right there, which of course if you look at the map, it breaks a current. So remember, this is kind of like one of those things where you got to sit there and do your homework, look at your charts, look at the areas that will have those kind of like areas where there's structure or just points. You can clearly see it on the charts, and those are the spots you want to go out there and actually fish. Either scan it deep like your work, either from shallow to deep or deep to shallow.
Yep.
Pretty typical striper stuff. Eastern Bay, same thing. You'll find fish kind of spread out in shallow. And if you're working your way south to Poplar Island, we got the typical mix for the summer, which is going to be right up by 83. Bluefish, mackerel, few mackerel. I think they become more consistent, but don't expect to have 20 mackerel there. You'll get a handful of mackerel in that area, either trolling or, like you were saying, finding schools of bait, casting those metal jigs to them.
Yeah.
Pretty classic stuff. For most of the fishing down south, once you get to, I will say like Chesapeake Beach or south, is becoming more of a evening bite down there for most of this stuff. Bluefish and all that, as long as you have current moving anywhere down there, stay in the channel edges, any kind of main points off those main rivers or the mouths of the rivers, and you will find fish. Like the classic thing saying is find a bait, find a fish, right?
Right.
And they'll eventually show up.
Yep.
Sometimes you have to do that. If you find a nice school of bait, just sit, wait, and relax and see when they come up.
Yeah.
Other than that, down south you're catching a decent amount of mackerel, blues. Obviously, that's kind of like the name of the game down there. A few bull reds out there closer to the target ship, and you're going to be finding, on the eastern shore side, some more consistent fishing for trout in shallow, closer to the shorelines, and some actual almost keeper-sized redfish.
Yeah.
So that's been pretty consistent here.
Yeah, and then go back to what you said about the bait. You could also, around pretty much anywhere in the bay, look for birds.
Oh yeah.
Birds will always find the bait more than likely before the fishermen. So if you're finding birds hitting the surface, then there's most likely some
sort of
bait,
fish, right?
which means there's bigger fish onto those.
Yeah. And then just play around with those schools. So obviously, if you're not catching big stuff around one school of birds, move around or use your electronics if you have the fancy stuff that everybody's using nowadays.
Yeah, or
scan around, and please don't be that person that runs right through the middle of them.
yeah.
That, you know, we're trying to preach that because you see that a lot. Just scan around, don't go through the middle.
Yeah.
You're not doing yourself a favor. You're not doing anybody a favor by doing
And
that.
don't fish for boats. Like if you see a bunch of boats fishing a school, maybe skirt the edges of it, but don't interrupt their fishing.
Exactly. A lot of accidents happening out there because of that.
Yeah.
Fishing accidents.
Yeah.
The last thing you want, sinkers flying your way.
Yeah.
But other than that, crabbing. Have you heard much from like crabbing wise?
On the western shore, it's consistent, but it's not great. I know when Sammy was out, Sammy and Roger were out catching crabs. They were pulling up 1 or 2 per pot, but
Nice.
nothing crazy, but still consistent.
I mean, it's gonna get good now. We're,
Yeah.
I guess, getting closer to the fall. As soon as those temperatures start to drop a little bit, you know, it gets pretty
Start to
hot.
try and fatten up
They're
for
nice
winter.
and hefty,
Yep.
So
Yep.
crabbing's not done once the summer's over. It's pretty much getting better, and you'll have a nice, consistent time frame. You know, I would say a month or month and a half to get those crabs in there. Other than that, remember, we're going to be transitioning here into late September into more of your fall fishery, which means birds, like we just said.
Definitely.
So come by, get ready for that. We got plenty of stuff for for that, whether it's medals, specialty
Poppers.
jigs, all that kind of stuff. So we got all that stuff. Well, I think that's all for this week, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yep. All right, guys. So come by and check us out and have a good one.